Bear with us, folks. We're just getting the live stream ready, and then we'll get started.
Matt, probably need to speak up or have the volume turned up a bit, if you can hear me.
Welcome, councillors, officers, members of the public gallery. Please be upstanding. We, the councillors of Hobsons Bay, recognise that we are privileged to serve a community enriched by diversity. We respect and value our community's backgrounds, customs and beliefs, and declare that we will always act impartially to the best of our skill and judgment. Through our deliberations and our conduct, we will uphold the council values to deliver outcomes that enhance the city of Hobsons Bay. I would like to acknowledge that we are gathered on the traditional land of the Bunurong people of the Kulin Nation. We recognise the First Peoples' relationship to this land and offer our respect to their elders past, present and emerging. Please be seated. Eli and Rog, can I just check? The screen says that the recording is paused. Are we right to proceed? Brilliant. Thank you. This meeting is being live streamed on the council website to enhance public access to the deliberation of council. The meeting is also being recorded as a podcast and will be made available on the council website. Before I do get started, I'd just like to draw your attention. You would have seen there was a slide up here previously. I don't want to revisit that or belabour it, but it essentially outlined council's governance rules. Appreciate there's topics tonight that are understandably and with good reason emotive, but we are keen to sort of conduct the business of the council meeting, and so if you can be mindful of those governance rules. Before I do start the meeting proper, I did just want to draw councillors' attention, as well as members of the gallery and people watching online. I had the good fortune of joining the principal of Bayside P12 in Williamstown recently, and they, of course, are refurbishing their library and replacing it with a STEM centre. And as part of that, they dug up a time capsule that was placed there in 1985 and included a letter from the then CEO of what was then the city of Williamstown, addressed to the then principal of the Williamstown Technical School, Eleanor Davis. It includes, and I will just hold it up, it includes a small cassette of a recording of that council meeting in April 1985. And so this is not safe in my hands. I'm in public passing this on to a far more responsible person, our CEO. And so I pass that on to Mr. Van Egmond for safekeeping, and we will be working, and I know council officers will be working as to how we can preserve that history, noting that it dates back some years, and we want to make sure that that's remains in safe keeping. I'll move now to the business of the meeting, and I'll ask if there are any apologies, councillors.
Mr. Mayor, Councillor Pamela Sutton-Legault is an apology for this evening.
Thank you, Councillor Marsden. Are you happy to move that?
Yes, I move that we accept her apology.
Happy to second.
Second, and Councillor Hempel. I'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? The motion is carried unanimously. Councillors, are there any disclosures of interest?
No, Mr. Mayor.
No worries. I'll move to the confirmation of previous minutes from the meeting held on the 12th December 2024. They've been circulated. Do I have a mover?
Move to accept.
Mover, Councillor Marsden.
Happy to second.
Seconder, Councillor Briffa. All those in favour? The motion is carried unanimously. Councillors, I'll move to councillor questions. I'll start on my left. Councillor Marston.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have two questions. The first one is to seek an update on the storm damage.
Through you, Mayor Tyler, and thank you, Councillor Marsden, for the question. As a result of the storm that hit the municipality this afternoon, there has been a number of trees and storm damage. We have three crews out on site, tending to high priority items. And we are working in cooperation with the SES as well. The priority would be to remove trees and stockpile them on the site to ensure that the roads and footpaths are safe. So that's the main priority, and then the clean-up of those trees will occur over the coming weeks.
Thank you. Second question pertains to the recent 3 days of extreme heat and the effect that will have or might have on recently planted street trees.
Again, through you, Mayor Tyler, and thank you, Councillor Marsden, for the question. The council planted trees are on a proactive watering schedule, so at this stage they tend to be surviving okay. They're proactively watered every 2 to 3 weeks. Trees that are planted by contractors, they are watered by the contractor. However, there is a responsibility of the contractor if the failures occur. It is their responsibility to replace them.
Thank you, Conley. Thank you, Mayor. No further questions.
Thank you, Councillor Marston. Thank you, Mr. Travascus. Councillor Briffa.
No questions from me.
Councillor Grimmer.
Mr. Mayor.
I'll move online. Councillor Hempel.
Yes, I have a few questions. My questions relate. The first lot of questions relate to Champion Road and the Champion Road closure. As councillors would know, the LXRP held its long-awaited first meeting with the council on November 21 to talk about the Champion Road closure. And in their presentation, the LXRP said that they had to keep the pipelines open to Melbourne Airport and the Mobile Refinery. Their quote was, "This prevents us from undertaking major digging works in the Champion Road area," it said. But since then, council officers and councillors have met with Mobile engineers and senior staff from Viva. Both Mobile and Viva are owners of some of the major pipelines, including the Avgas pipeline to the airport. I wonder if Mr. Travascus can tell us in relation to whether it was, from what Mobile and Viva told us, it was engineeringly possible to relocate the pipelines to find a better road solution if Champion Road is closed.
Through you, Mayor Tyler, and thank you, Councillor Hempel, for the question. So yes, as you said, council officers and council law representatives have met with Mobile and Viva, who confirmed that through this alignment there are 11 pipelines, some with some state-level significance. They did advise that it was technically possible to relocate their pipelines, subject to the necessary safety and risk assessments. As part of that advice as well, both companies indicated that there would be some extensive costs associated with their potential relocation, and some of the costs discussed, I suppose, coincided with some information shared by the LXRP.
Right, so it's contrary to what the LXRP have been saying to us then. The LXRP are saying there is no possible solution, but the engineering companies, the oil companies are saying, yes, there is an engineering solution.
Through you, Mayor Tyler, but yes, that is correct, Peter, that there is an option there to relocate.
Thank you. And what did they say about the level of discussions they had with the LXRP?
Through you, Mayor Tyler. But both companies indicated that to date the discussions with the LXRP have been high level, without too much detail. As part of those discussions, there had not been any discussion about the relocation of pipelines. So they are awaiting those further discussions subject to their further investigations.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Travascus. And what's council's approach from here on in then in alerting the government to this news that we've recently learned?
So officers will obviously continue to advocate with the state government and LXRP on council's adopted position to keep Champion Road open. So in addition to that, we'll work closely with the recently established Newport Community Interest Group, develop the design principles with them that will help guide council's response to this project as it progresses. And also, council's obviously committed to working with all stakeholders to achieve the best possible outcome for the community on this project.
Thank you. And probably just following up from that, and it's probably a question to the CEO and the Mayor, will we be, either of you two be making strong representations to the government in this regard?
Yeah, thanks, Councillor Hempel. We, as you know, I expect have written to Minister Pearson on this issue. That was last year, and subsequently in the last week or so, we've followed up on that letter to request a meeting with him.
And I suspect that given that the local community has already met with him and got no joy out of him, are we taking it further by going to the Premier?
Happy to consider that, Councillor Hempel. We are, of course, waiting to hear back from Minister Pearson. As you say, mindful the relevant community group met with him recently, but certainly happy to consider that.
Yeah, if I may, I think that is probably the appropriate way, because I think the Minister is totally out of touch with a whole range of issues that affect our local community. So I'm pleased that you would consider that, and I hope I would encourage you quite strongly to do so. If I may move on to my next lot of questions, they relate to the Williamstown Swimming and Lifesaving Club. As I understand it, the Williamstown Swimming and Lifesaving Club were given two options as part of the planning process for the refurbishment of their club rooms and the redevelopment of the site. Is that correct, Mr. Travascus?
Through you, Mayor Tyler, and thanks, Councillor Hempel, for the question. Yeah, what you have said there is that all project stakeholders considered two concept options for the redevelopment of the Swimming and Lifesaving Club. The club themselves received those two options. One of those options was to redevelop the site consistent with, I suppose, the core requirements of lifesaving club facilities, but it also included the retention of the existing pool. And the second option was to redevelop the site with the core lifesaving club requirements without a pool.
And what was the indicative cost of those? Did they fall within, close to the budget?
Both options were within budget range, noting that there was, given the early stages of the design, there were some contingencies included in that. Right.
And which option did they opt to take out of those two? One was with a pool and one was out of pool. So I understand that's some key.
So through you, Mayor Tyler, but yes, the club responded in support of the option without a pool, and that was put to all stakeholders associated with the project, who everybody supported that decision. I suppose it's noted that that decision that was made by the board was without consultation with the members, because it was noted that there'd be broad consultation with that as part of the public exhibition process.
Okay. All right, well, I look forward to further updates as we move forward on that project in particular. Thank you. That's all, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Hempel. Councillor Callender.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I have a couple of questions, and I apologise in advance for not circulating these. These just sprung to mind. So if the executives need to take it on notice, I'm comfortable with that. So through you, Are you able to provide an update on any advocacy work that's taking place or has taken place in relation to the traffic intersection at the Nordini estate onto Millers Road to allow residents to exit and potentially turn right onto Millers Road out of their estate? So that's the first question. And likewise, in relation to the roundabout at Cororate Creek Road and Millers Road, that intersection banks up really, really badly in the mornings and in the evenings. So just interested in receiving any updates on that.
Through you, Mayor Tyler, and thanks, Councillor Callender, for the question. They're both questions I'll take on notice and be able to provide an update.
Okay, appreciate it. That's okay, no problem.
Thanks.
Thanks, Councillor Callender. Thanks you, Mr. Travascus. That concludes Councillor question time. Next is public question time. This public question time segment provides an opportunity for the public to ask questions related to items on the agenda of the council meeting or any other matter within council's responsibility. Questions must be put forward in writing and received by midday the day before a council meeting. Questions received after this time will be responded to in writing by the appropriate council officer. In accordance with subsection 13.1 of the Hobsons Bay Governance Rules, 20 minutes has been allocated for public question time. We do have a significant number of questions tonight. If it goes beyond 20 minutes, that's okay. I'm keen to get through these questions. Individual responses won't exceed 2 minutes each. In accordance with Rule 13.1.14, a maximum of 3 public questions may be submitted per meeting by a member of the public. And in accordance with Rule 13.1.11 of the Hobsons Bay Governance Rules, the person who submitted the question must be present in the public gallery during public question time for their question to be read out. There will be one exception to that tonight with a member of the public who wasn't able to get here, although I retract that. I've just seen, welcome Julie. Finally, there have been a number of public questions submitted for tonight, some of which are not within Council's power to respond, some in conflict with the governance rules and some that will not be addressed based on legal advice. I'm really keen to answer as many as I can, and so we've done our very best within those constraints to answer the questions that have been asked. Firstly, Jeff Mitchell, welcome, former Citizen of the Year, and really grateful to have you here tonight. Jeff's first question is, Stage 1 of the Cororate Creek shared trail between Hoskin Reserve and Geelong Road is all but complete, with only minor work still to be completed. And its closure is impacting on other projects, including the upgrade of Federation Trail between Cororate Creek and Millers Road. If the upgrade of Federation Trail is not started in the next couple of months, then all works along Pipeline Reserve will not be able to be completed until 2025. Can the Chief Executive Officer meet with executives of the Westgate Tunnel Project and Transurban urgently to have the Cororate Creek Trail opened immediately to allow these other urgent works to proceed? The Council Officer's response is, Council has had discussions with the Friends of Lower Cororate Creek and Melbourne Water on the Cororate Creek shared trail works, including advocating to complete the minor works and open the path to the community as soon as possible. The matter has been raised by Council with the executives of the Westgate Tunnel Project, who have advised that the minor landscaping works are planned for completion in 2024, and specifically during the autumn planning season. Council will continue to raise this matter with the Westgate Tunnel Project to advocate for the trail to be opened. Mr Mitchellmore's second question is, can Council's executive team meet with the Westgate Tunnel Project team and the President of the Friends of Lower Cororate Creek as soon as possible for an on-site walkthrough of Stage 1 Cororate Creek Shared Trail to highlight the outstanding issues that need to be resolved? And the Council Officer's response reads, Council Officers will coordinate an additional site inspection with the Westgate Tunnel Project and the Friends of Lower Cororate Creek to assess works completed, addressing all previously raised concerns. The purpose of this site walk is to ensure that works completed align with the approved designs and meet the relevant standards. Mr Mitchell's final question is, on behalf of the MacArthur's Road, Altona North residents, I would like to thank Council for recently installing the speed calming devices. They have certainly slowed the traffic. However, it appears that the calming devices have not been built high enough to meet the requirements to slow the traffic to the 20 kilometres per hour as specified by the installed traffic control signs. Can Council officers please investigate, and if the calming devices are too low for Council specifications, can Council demand that the contractors increase the height? If they do meet the specifications, can Council please ensure that any future works on the calming devices increase their height to further reduce the speed in MacArthur's Road? The Council officer's response reads, MacArthur Road is a public transport Victoria bus route, and Council has followed Department of Transport guidelines and Australian standards in the design and construction of traffic calming devices recently installed along the route. Officers have assessed and confirmed that the installed devices align with the required standards for effective traffic calming. Thanks, Mr Mitchell. Is Rowena... Hi, Rowena, welcome. Rowena's first question is, Section 52.06-5 of the Hobsons Bay Planning Scheme sets out the requirements for visitor car parking in new developments. For the Precinct 15 area, the planning scheme requires that one visitor car parking space is provided for every 5 dwellings, but conditions in the endorsed planning permits for Precinct 15 instead require that developments must maximise on-street car parking by providing one on-street car parking space for every 2 dwellings. Can Council please explain the rationale behind this condition, which requires developers to provide 2.5 times more on-street car parking spaces in Precinct 15 than what is required through the planning scheme? The Council officer's response reads, the Minister for Planning approved the rezoning overarching development master plan for Altona North, Precinct 15, and Council must issue regulatory permits generally in accordance with that plan. The Precinct 15 approved master plan, subdivisions and development plans are publicly available on Council's website. The subdivision and development applications need to consider a range of planning factors, including the creation of new roads and vehicle parking. The master plan and clauses 56 and 52.06 of the Hobsons Bay Planning Scheme have been followed in the detailed decisions around on-site and on-street car parking at Precinct 15. Ms Joski's second question is, the planning permit for the Union Quarter development in Spotswood included a condition that the developer must modify McLister Street to construct 13 90-degree car parking spaces in front of the residential apartments at the east end. What was the purpose or requirements for these 13 car parking spaces? And the Council officer's response reads, Council refused the original permit application for the now existing mixed-use development at 31 to 69 McLister Street, Spotswood, brackets Union Quarter. VCAT issued a decision in September 2017 which reduced the original proposal from 39 car parking spaces to 13 spaces in response to objectors and the local school's traffic safety concerns. Next questions are from Rosa McKenna. Welcome, Rosa. Ms McKenna's first question is, Better West joint letter, as included in item 8.2.1, requested that simple low-cost paths are built within the current nature strip reserve on the south side of Birmingham Street, a plan previously supported by both Council and Better West. However, the Council report indicates that Council now intends to proceed with a concept for a different plan for a Green Line bike path on Birmingham Street. The details of this Green Line concept plan have not been publicly shared with the local community for feedback, not endorsed by councillors, and item 8.2.1 notes that it has a very high estimated cost of $1.4 million. Can Council please confirm that the Green Line concept plan for Birmingham Street does not fit the current nature strip reserve space, would require conversion to one-way car traffic, would require the removal of the current on-road car parking spaces on the north side of the road, and would require modifications to the recently constructed Vic Roads intersection? The Council officer's response reads, the Minister for Planning issued a development permit for the mixed-use redevelopment of the site at 571 to 589 Melbourne Road, Spotswood, brackets corner of Birmingham Street, on 6 July 2021. Council subsequently adopted the Better Places Spotswood and South Kingsville Place Guide on 12 October 2021, which includes the overarching alignment and objectives of the Hobsons Bay Green Line Separated Walking and Cycling Path project. The Green Line is the current active transport project for this site. As detailed plans for the Green Line project progress in 2024, further information will be provided to the community. Ms McKenna's second question reads, the council report estimates the cost of building a 2.5 metre wide shared path down the length of Birmingham Street within the current Nature Strip Reserve at $170,000 to $250,000. Can council please estimate what the cost of building a simple 2.5 metre bike and 1.5 metre footpath within the Nature Strip Reserve space would be? And the council officer's response reads, the cost of constructing Green Line concept separated bike and pedestrian path would be more expensive than the contribution being received from the developer. Council is fulfilling its statutory obligations in working with the development in line with the approved permit conditions to achieve the best outcomes for this site. Ms McKenna's third question is, would the cost of building a footpath and separated bike path be significantly less if council were to make an agreement with the Spotswood Yard developer to build the paths as part of the current construction of Spotswood Yard? And the council officer's response reads, the cost of constructing a Green Line concept separated bike and pedestrian path would be more expensive than the contribution being received from the developer. Council is fulfilling its statutory obligations in working with the development in line with the approved permit conditions to achieve the best outcome for this site. The next questions are from Julie White. Welcome, Julie. Julie's first question reads, does council require that public leisure centres and swimming pools in Hobsons Bay have regular pool safety assessments conducted by Lifesaving Victoria, the peak water safety organisation recognised by Emergency Management Victoria? If not, why not? The council officer's response reads, council's aquatic facilities must comply with the Royal Lifesaving Society of Australia, quote, guidelines for safe pool operation, end quote, for the operation and management of swimming pools. Lifesaving Victoria is an independent body and their pool safety inspections are not mandatory. Council's aquatic facility operators complete risk and safety audits in line with the guidelines for safe pool operations. Julie's second question reads, when does council's current lease for the management and operation of Bayfit Leisure Centre expire, and will it be renewed? Will there be an open and transparent tender process for any new or renewed lease or contract for management operation of the Bayfit Leisure Centre? If not, why not? And the council officer's response reads, the current lease for operation of Bayfit Leisure Centre expires on 31st July 2032. At that time, a transparent process will be facilitated to appoint a new operator in line with council's procurement policy. Ms White's third question reads, does council require that its leases and or contractors offer inclusive and safe services to the whole municipal community at its public leisure and swimming pool facilities? Is the provision of inclusive and safe services for the benefit and well-being of the entire municipal community a condition for renewal of any lease or awarding of any lease or contract for management services at those facilities? If not, why not? And the council officer's response reads, external operators are bound by the terms of their lease agreement with council. Management of the facility is expected to align with council policies and processes for the benefit of all within the community and subject to the guidelines for safe pool operation. Next question is from Elizabeth Goga. Hi, Elizabeth. Welcome. Ms Goga's question reads, the Williamstown Swimming and Lifesaving Club redevelopment survey demonstrates an overwhelming response from members and the community in favour of retaining the swimming pool, the lawn area, and the revenue from the lease of the kiosk. In view of this, will council commit to a full review of the club redevelopment plans? And the council officer's response reads, Officer in the process of completing a detailed review of the community feedback from the 8-week public exhibition period in late 2023. A review of the plans will be completed based on the feedback received in consultation with the project's key stakeholders. The next questions come from Juan Camilo Rihanna Rodriguez. Hi, Juan. First question reads, can councillors move a motion to seek a planning scheme amendment? Just give us one moment, Juan. The council officer's response reads, yes, in principle. Council is the planning authority and can request to amend the Hobsons Bay planning scheme by creating a draft amendment and submitting it to the Minister for Planning. Council cannot unilaterally change the planning scheme. On receiving a planning scheme amendment request, the Minister for Planning can then allow the amendment to commence to public exhibition (consultation), ask Council more questions or refuse to consider the amendment further. Ministerial Direction 15 sets out the planning scheme amendment process every council must follow. All proposed draft planning scheme amendments need to be underpinned by significant research and evidence for the proposal, known as, inverted commas, strategic justification, in the form of a strategic assessment. The amendment proposal must also consider all state, council and regulatory requirements. Planning Practice Note 46, Strategic Assessment Guidelines, sets out the strategic justification that council needs to consider before amending its planning scheme. The level of strategic assessment depends on the type of amendment. A full assessment against the strategic consideration should be made for amendments that include major changes in policy, introduction or extension of a zone or overlay that would produce a different or new land use or development outcome, or major changes to the ordinance or mapping that involve a large number of lots. Mr. Rodriguez's second question reads, how do council executives decide what information to disclose or not to disclose to councillors regarding council decisions that will materially impact members of the community? And the council officer's response reads, council executives take into account a range of factors that would determine how and what to communicate with councillors. These factors include, but are not limited to, the Local Government Act 2020 and other applicable laws and procedures, the instrument of delegations, privacy requirements and legal protections. They weigh these factors up and make decisions based on the best evidence and experience available at the time. Next questions come from John O'Hagan. Hi, John. John's first question reads, in June 2023, Council wrote in their draft affordable housing strategy that there is an urgent need for affordable housing in Hobsons Bay. Since then, the state government has announced plans to shut down 3 blocks of public and affordable housing in Williamstown, Hanmer Street, Nelson Place and Bronte Court, and notified residents that they will have to leave their homes. How many more public and or affordable homes will Hobsons Bay lose as a result of these closures? The council officer's response reads, Council has an adopted affordable housing strategy which sets out our position on this topic. Based on information to date, Council understands the state's proposals would not result in any net loss of affordable housing. Residents at Bronte Street are currently being supported by agencies including Homes Victoria to find new housing before the redevelopment of the site. Residents at Hanmer Street and Nelson Place will be engaged to understand their current and future housing needs with no timeframe for works currently announced, noting that the redevelopment is not expected to commence for several years. Mr. Hagan's second question reads, how will this considerable loss of existing affordable housing in the municipality affect Council's affordable housing strategy? And the council officer's response reads, Council has an adopted affordable housing strategy which sets out our position on this topic. The strategy aims to increase supply in various ways, including by advocating for legislative reform, negotiating affordable housing contributions through the planning scheme, and supporting the further growth of the Hobsons Bay Affordable Housing Trust. Mr O'Hagan's final question is in relation to earlier questions relating to public housing towers. What is Council doing to advocate for residents at threat of eviction and to protect existing affordable housing in Hobsons Bay? And the Council Officer's response reads, Council has an adopted affordable housing strategy which aims to maintain and where possible increase the supply of affordable housing. That strategy is available on our website, and I'd also say, John, that in her role as Prior Mayor, former Mayor Briffa wrote to the relevant Minister on this topic to understand the plans, and will continue to remain engaged with the Minister for Housing in the Victorian Government on this issue. The next questions come from Yamama Al-Shubaji. Hi, Yamana. Yamana's first question reads, how has Council contributed to residents from Middle Eastern backgrounds in the wider Hobsons Bay community that has been troubled by the unfolding events in Palestine to ensure that all its residents feel safe and included? And the Council Officer's response reads, Council supports the rights of all citizens to feel safe and included, regardless of their ethnic background. Imama's second question reads, what strategies or actions is Council currently implementing to advocate for our safety and inclusion? The Council Officer's response reads, Council is committed to diversity, including cultural and religious diversity, opposition to discrimination and hatred based on race and faith. The next question comes from Kirill Smelov. Is Kirill Smelov in the gallery? A written response will be provided. The next question is from Carla Mira. Yeah. Hi Carla, welcome. Carla's question reads, will the Council be following the likes of Darebin Council to give 1 minute of silence for people killed, disabled or missing in Gaza? And if not, what is the justification for not doing so? And Council Officer's response reads, Council notes the submitter's views and will give consideration to this request. Second question reads, has the Council received monetary incentives from any external parties during or prior to this motion being drafted? And the Council Officer's response reads, no, absolutely not. That's the end of public question times. I know that there were some questions we weren't able to address, and as I shared up front, it's because they're beyond Council's powers and are in conflict with our governance rules. I'd ask you. Yeah, we've done just that, and so as I've shared, there are a number of questions answered that weren't in line with our governance rules, and as I said up front, we've done our very best to answer so we'll move on. Councillors, the next item is item 7.1.1, petition call for Council to show support for Palestine. Are there any questions on this item? I'm looking for a mover.
So moved.
Moved by Councillor Briffa. And a seconder?
Second.
Councillor Marsden. Councillor Briffa, as the mover of the motion.
Thank you. Yes, this motion is pretty simple initially. So this is to receive a note to petition in relation to showing support for Palestine. And the next motion we'll discuss it in further detail.
Councillor Marsden is the seconder. You've got 3 minutes.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Nothing further to add.
Any other councillors like to speak to the motion? Councillor Calendar.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I simply wanted to say that Council accepts petitions from members of our community every month, and in respect of accepting petitions, our governance rules state at item 12.1.3 that Council must resolve to receive the petition and to refer the matter for a future report to a subsequent meeting of Council. The Executive in this instance won't be preparing a report, and instead a variation of business is written into the agenda to merge it with Councillor Briffa's notice of motion. The Executive made the decision to bring this petition forward in line with their assessment of the governance rules, and I believe the Executive need to follow the governance protocol like all other petitions and write their response to it. So given that that's not the case, I won't be supporting the actual written recommendation that's embedded within this. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thanks, Councillor Calendar. Any other speakers to the motion? I'll put the motion to a vote. All those in favour? All those against? The motion is carried.
Excuse me, Mr. Mayor. Should you ask for a show of hands for abstaining?
I can. I'll take the vote again, and I'm happy to, Councillor Calendar. All those in favour of the motion? All those against? And abstentions? The motion is carried.
We'll come back around. You haven't listened to us.
So I've asked.
Free Palestine! Free Palestine! Free Palestine! Free Palestine! Free Palestine! Free Palestine! Free Palestine!
I asked members of the public gallery to resume their seats so that we can carry on the council meeting.
It's a terrible, terrible motion. You should have just left it and not even put anything up. It's just what you put up there now. It's a disgrace. People are being slaughtered there. You can't even mention their name. You mentioned 2 or 3 other conflicts, and not once is Palestine or Gaza mentioned.
I'll ask again if you can. I understand the frustration. If I can ask.
How do you understand? Our family getting killed. Almost 72 of my family there. How do you understand? Explain to me. That's one person here. That's with a very small Jewish community as well. Okay? So imagine there was a bigger Jewish 72 of my family got killed, slaughtered. And you tell me you understand? How? It's not only a Middle Eastern issue, it's a human issue.
So we do need to continue the business of the council meeting.
We expected more from our council.
Yeah.
You guys let us down. You let us down. We wanted the word ceasefire in there.
So I'm really going to have to ask you.
In there.
Yeah.
We wanted Gaza to be mentioned. You let us down.
I'm really going to have to ask you to resume your seats.
Ceasefire now! Ceasefire now! Ceasefire now! You got blood in your hand. Ceasefire now!
Ceasefire now.
Ceasefire now! Free, free Palestine!
Free, free Palestine!
Free, free Palestine!
Free, free Palestine!
Shame on you!
Shame on you.
Shame on you! Free
I
Palestine!
condemn
Shame on
slaughter
you!
of innocent people.
Shame!
Disgraceful.
Shame on you!
Just give us one moment. Councillors, the next item is 7.1.2, Notice of Motion number 1249, Support for Hobsons Bay residents impacted by overseas conflict. Councillors, are there any questions in relation to this item?
Yeah, I would like to move this motion. I have a feeling that the people that just left didn't realise that this hasn't been discussed yet. But yes, I'm happy to move this motion.
Yeah, and are there any questions just before we jump to mover? We've got a mover, Councillor Briffa. Looking for a seconder?
Seconded.
Seconded, Councillor Marston. Councillor Briffa.
Thank you. It's a bit emotional after that, but anyway, the council has been, as all councillors and staff know, and it's been in the media, the council has been tirelessly lobbied for several months to take a view on the conflict in the Middle East and receive a petition requesting council raise a motion in support of Palestine. As a councillor, I am cognizant of the council's role and responsibilities, and indeed our limitations and the extent of our power and authority. This motion considers the petition we've received in light of those factors. Human rights laws, including international human rights laws, should be respected and upheld everywhere. Importantly, the rights of one community are not greater than those of another. Human rights laws apply equally to everyone, as should our empathy, our outrage, our sadness, our sense of loss, and our grief. I acknowledge the enormous suffering, loss of life, destruction, and the deteriorating humanitarian crisis affecting Palestinians in Gaza and the West Bank. I also acknowledge the attack on the people of Israel on 7 October, which also resulted in much suffering and loss of life. This conflict has been going for decades, and I hope for peace for the region. I note the federal government is already calling for a ceasefire, as are agencies such as the Australian Human Rights Commission and key international organisations such as the United Nations Security Council, the General Assembly, and United Nations Office of the High Commissioner for Human Rights. I also note the order of the International Court of Justice of the 26th of January 2024. I also acknowledge the significant suffering, loss of life and destruction in Ukraine. Millions of Ukrainians have been internally displaced and more than 8 million have fled the country, creating Europe's largest refugee crisis since World War II. Significant suffering, loss of life and destruction is also being felt by the people of Sudan and by the people of Myanmar. I mention these conflicts in particular because as a councillor, I meet with residents from across our city and I know the conflicts across the globe have a significant impact on our community. Many residents and families are directly affected. We heard from that man tonight, with family members and other loved ones among the dead, the missing, the injured and the displaced. According to the 2021 census, we have the following populations of people born overseas living in Hobsons Bay. So from Lebanon, 954. From Myanmar, we have 212. Ukraine, 36. Sudan, 64. Gaza Strip and the West Bank, 11. Israel, 18. When you include their children born in Australia and other loved ones and other supporters, one can see that we have quite a community of people in Hobsons Bay that are affected by overseas conflicts. If passed, this motion expresses our council's sympathy for their loss and grief and will seek support for mental health and other support services. It will also reaffirm that Hobsons Bay City Council is committed to diversity, including cultural and religious diversity, and we oppose discrimination and hatred based on race and faith. Hobsons Bay has no place for Islamophobia or anti-Semitism and no place for anti-Arab or anti-Palestinian racism. We oppose discrimination and support the wonderful diversity of our community, whether that be by race, their faith, their sex, sexual orientation, disability, sex characteristics, or gender identity. I thank the submitters of this petition and everyone that signed it. I appreciate their passion and commitment to human rights and am grateful it has increased awareness of their cause. And with that, Mr Mayor and councillors, I am pleased to commend the motion to the council.
Thank you, Councillor Briffa. Councillor Marsden is the seconder. Would any other councillors like to speak to this motion? Councillor Callender.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I just want to reiterate what I said earlier on. And I'll also add that I'm actually quite disappointed that as councillors we haven't received any real advice from the executive in response to this. I don't believe that Councillor Briffa's notice of motion actually responds to the topic at hand. Thank you.
Any other councillors like to speak to this motion? Councillor Briffa, I'll pass to you.
Thank you. Unlike Councillor Callender, I have had a number of discussions with various groups and considered much of what they have presented in putting this motion together. The Mayor has also had many discussions with groups, and he and I have spoken and collaborated on this issue significantly over the last few months. I think it's fair to say that it has kept us up at night and indeed even up early in the morning. But that's nothing compared to what people are experiencing overseas. I'm grateful for the time and passion of our local groups and individuals that have contacted us. I particularly note the valuable input from the Australian Islamic Centre in Newport, who met with the Mayor and Councillors Marsden and Grima, and who I've proudly worked with and supported for various issues over the last 22 years. I also thank and acknowledge the Hobsons Bay for Palestine Group and the Jewish Community Council of Victoria. I think this motion is measured, reasonable, responsible position that acknowledges the loss and suffering experienced by our community. Thank you. Happy to put it to the vote.
Thank you, Councillor Briffa. I'll do just that and put the motion to a vote. All those in favour? All those against? And I will ask for abstentions. The motion is...
Sorry, I was going to call for a division. Sorry, call division now.
We've had a division called, and so I'll take the vote again. All those in favour? Councillor Marsden, Councillor Tyler, Councillor Briffa and Councillor Grima. All those against? And abstentions? Councillor Hempel and Councillor Callender. As Mayor, I can't enter debate, but I do want to reflect briefly on a couple of things. One is echoing Councillor Briffa. I'm grateful to folks from the Australian Islamic Centre, from the Islamic Council of Victoria, from the Hobsons Bay for Palestine Solidarity Group. I'm grateful to have had the opportunity to meet and discuss this with you. I'm pleased that this motion acknowledges the hurt in our community. People have said to us this is a global issue, there's no role for council. The reality is this is having profound impacts on our community. The human rights crisis in the Middle East and Gaza specifically is horrific. And I know what we've heard tonight is that this motion doesn't go as far as some people would like us to go. but there are some important things in this motion. The next item is item 8.1, petitions and joint letters received. Councillors, do we have any petitions or joint letters to be tabled? No joint letters. Item 8.2.1, response to petition, request for a separated bike path on Birmingham Street, Spotswood. Councillors, are there any questions on this item? Do I have a mover?
Moved.
Councillor Marston? And a seconder.
Happy to second.
That's prefer. Councillor Marston.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So, at the meeting last September, we received a joint letter which read as follows. It said that the local area movement plan specifies a 2.5 metre bike path and 1.5 metre footpath on the south side of Birmingham Street, and then goes on to talk about the opportunity that arises with the Green Line project to allow a rethink of those permit conditions in order to expedite the infrastructure development. And we've heard some questions tonight from the audience, and the matter is well understood by the petitioner. This is a formal response to that petition, and the recommendation, now the motion reads that Council notes the approved shared path forms part of the planning permits for buildings A and B. Notes that Council officers collaborated with the developer of the Spotswood Yard property and have amended the planning permits, which now seek a financial contribution towards the construction of public works on Birmingham in lieu of the construction of a 2.5 metre shared path. And then finally writes to the lead petitioner advising of the outcome. So this is a chance to harmonise two major strategic pieces of work, and I feel that the response speaks for itself, and that Better West have followed the process along, and that their questions tonight will be answered in time. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Marston. Councillor Griffer.
Thank you. I don't think there's anything else to add. Thank you.
Any other councillors like to speak to the motion? Councillor Marston, I'll come back to you as the mover.
Yes, thank you. So this is a good opportunity to have amended the permit conditions and to seek a contribution from the developer towards a more recent strategic plan known as Green Line, which lies within the Better Places plans for Spotswood and South Kingsville. So I thank the petitioners and look forward to the path getting built. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Marston. And with that, I'll put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? Motion is carried unanimously. Next item is 9.1.1, the Chief Executive's Officer's Report on Operations, December 2023 and January 2024. Councillors, are there any questions?
Yes, I have one.
Councillor Hempel.
If I can go to the report, and there's reference to the level crossing removal project update. It refers to Maddox Road, and I know that there's a bit of an overview of the work on the traffic problem that we're experiencing in Maddox Road, and I know that there will be a future report coming back to us in the near immediate meeting or two. But do I understand it that from the report and where it talks about the future population growth of 25% and some other measures that we're getting to, we're expected to get to overcapacity. Given that the government's so-called solution to the Champion Road closure, its Champion Road closure, by redirecting traffic to Maddox Road, my understanding from just reading from this is that they're already at capacity, and report would suggest that maybe we would have difficulty in redirecting traffic from Champion Road onto Maddox Road. Leave it up to the CEO or Mr. Vasquez.
Through you, Mayor Tyler. Thank you, Councillor Hempel. Council has done its own traffic assessment of the overall precinct. It has looked at the existing intersections, which do have some capacity issues, but it has forecasted, as you've said, a 25% population increase for the purposes of the modelling, which does, I suppose, further exacerbate some of the congestion issues in that Maddox Road precinct.
Thank you, Mr. Travascus. That's all, Mr. Mayor.
Any other questions, Councillor Hempel?
No more questions, sorry.
No, no worries. I am seeking a...
Free Palestine! Free Palestine!
Councillor, if I could seek a motion to adjourn temporarily.
So moved.
Second. Seconded by Councillor Grimmer. Now put the motion to the vote. Motion is carried unanimously. Can you hear us, Peter and Daria?
Yes, I can.
Welcome back to people on the live stream. Councillors, can I have a motion to resume?
So moved.
Second.
And I'll put that motion to the vote. All those in favour? Motion is carried unanimously. Councillors, we are up to item 9.1.1, the Chief Executive Officer's Report, December 2023 and January 2024. Are there any questions? Can I seek a mover?
Are you happy to move that, Mayor?
Moved by Councillor Grimmer and a seconder.
Second.
Councillor Marston. Councillor Grimmer.
Thank you, Mayor. This is an inclusive, safe space and ability for all ages, and I'm very proud of this report, with highlighting that we had over 50,000 visitors in our local libraries. This is a wellbeing connection, and also in our neighbourhood, with low cost activities or free activities. They include kindergarten has been on the rise with enrolment. We've had age assessments. We had family social work support. We've had parenting programs. They include parenting groups for support, outreach, breastfeeding, and Baby Makes 3 sessions. We've had youth programs that included counselling and support, and the joy of festivals like Summer Sounds, which was fantastic. I attended some of those events, including with Mayor Tyler with the some of the movie by the Bay, which was fantastic. So it's just joy, educational and fun, and it's just been such a joy to have this in our great community. And from a third generation, from living in my great community, I can just see it's getting greater and better and more visible for the services we need. So it's really important, and yes, thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Grimmer. Councillor Marston as the seconder.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I like the new format. I like the inclusion of the level crossing and Westgate Tunnel projects within the report. I think it's a really good summary of the stage of the projects. I'd like to just draw councillors' attention to the consultations still underway, and I'm just scrolling through to find them on page 31. There's the Events and Festivals Plan Review, which is currently under review, and it provides a framework for the planning and delivery of events and festivals in the city, which, as my councillor colleague said, is well and truly underway. This summer's been wonderful. Yeah, the live music events, the movies, the ability for the community for the first time to get together over summer without the risk of a lockdown, unlike the previous summer, which was still very close. And I feel now people have got the confidence to go out and enjoy themselves, socialise, which is much needed after the pandemic. The community consultation for the Events and Festivals Plan continues until March 2024, and this is all available on the council website. The second one, which is just closed, is the draft alcohol harm prevention policy, and officers are considering the feedback from that. The Pitch Your project is a really popular program where you can pitch a great idea for council to deliver, and we're looking for projects that will make Hobsons Bay an even better place to be. Some of our most popular programs have come out of this scheme, and the rules are that each idea must fall within the 50,000 idea cap. capital works projects will not be considered. And then those projects will be delivered by the team during the next financial year. So I encourage my colleagues to look at those open consultation sessions and share them with the community. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Marsden. Any other councillors like to speak to the motion?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, thank you. I'll just highlight some of the things. I am concerned about youth counselling, and that there's still an 8-week waiting period for a young person wanting to access youth counselling services. I know that we're doing what we can to improve that situation, but it does need to be highlighted. Family violence, the stuff that we do around there. I mean, people talk about, councils only doing roads, rates and rubbish. Well, that is rubbish. We do so much more than that. And the work of family social work support for domestic violence and things like that. The planned activity groups, great to see the amount of services that we provide for older residents and residents with disabilities. And even things like delivered meals. 178 residents received meal delivered to their homes, and 4,253 meals were provided to eligible residents. So that's great to see, in addition to the home maintenance. The substation, I love the substation. Do I need to declare a conflict of interest because that is where I met my wife? Probably not, as the Local Government Act, but it's a great place. And Mr. Mayor, we had a awesome time there for the launch of Midsummer West Side at the queer photo exhibitions. That was great. So I've mentioned Midsummer, and of course you marched in the Prime March again this year, Mr. Mayor, with all that heat and the thousands and thousands of people. So well done, and I'd like to call out also the staff and residents that also participated in that. Pierce Street feature site, that's the feedback from that is really good. Great to see that happening, and lots of people enjoying that. Accessible beaches, obviously services for people with disabilities is a great passion of mine, and it's great to see Altona and Williamstown beaches being accessible to people with disabilities. I will mention just the application number that we've got, where we refused an application at 219 Corroy Creek Road, Williamstown, for the purpose of a material recycling facility. So we refused it, and VCAT overturned it. And often I hear residents complain, council's approving this and approving that, and they need to check what actually really happened, because often it's we refused something and then VCAT overturns us. A lot of work in the Food Act areas, which is great to see and very important. The citizenship, Mr. Mayor, that was really good on 26th of January. Always great to see so many citizens, so many people become new citizens in Hobsons Bay. Animal management, I cannot not mention animal management. I'm looking at you, Ms. Hykins. Just love what we do, and it's great to see that, of 11 dogs impounded, 6 were released, 9 animals returned to their owners by council officers. So well done to the council officers for looking after our furry, purry family members. And I love the advocacy that we continue to do, obviously, not just for the Newport Rail Yard, which I'm sure Councillor Hemphill will mention, but also the Hobsons Bay Wetland Centre, and that really continues to be a focus of ours as a council. Love seeing the work at Kim Reserve in Altona. I'm looking forward to that being completed, looking forward to going for a bit of a tour before that. And also, it's not actually in this report, or at least I couldn't find it, but Bruce Common Reserve as well. That is looking amazing. Can't wait to see that. I think I'll perhaps leave it there. It's always a great read. I very much encourage residents to have a bit of a look at this CEO report. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Briffa. Any other councillors like to speak to the motion? Councillor Grimmer, I'll come back to you as the mover.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's just great to highlight that there's much more for health, well-being and joy, and a special mention to the immunisations that are progressing in our neighbourhood council. It's great that we can have what I'm seeing from living here all my life, that it's greater access. It's just getting greater, but we also welcome criticism as well. So any feedback on how to get better, because that's what we want to do, is just get greater, and it's just such a great achievement. And yeah, we don't have to look private entity, or we've got that connection to getting all these great services, joy, and also connection to our great community. So thank you. I wholeheartedly endorse this.
Thank you, Councillor Grimmer. I'll put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? Motion is carried unanimously. The next item is 9.2.1, internal arbitration decisions. And just some brief background on this. Section 147, Clause 4 of the Local Government Act 2020 states that, and I quote, "A copy of the Arbiter's decision and statement of reasons must be tabled at the next council meeting after the council received a copy of the Arbiter's decision and statement of reasons and recorded in the minutes of that council meeting." Councillors, I'm seeking a mover.
So moved.
Councillor Briffa, and a seconder. Councillor Callender. Councillor
Thank you.
Briffa.
Better put the speaker on. Thank you. Yes, this motion is that we receive a note, the decision into internal arbitration procedures for councillor misconduct. They were in relation to a misconduct by myself and another misconduct by Councillor Callender.
Thank you, Councillor Briffa. Councillor Callender is the seconder.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think all the information is contained in the detail. So anybody who's interested in reading that, it's all available there, and I won't be commenting any further. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Callender. Would any other councillors like to speak to the motion? Councillor
Yes, I would. I would.
Councillor Hempel.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was quite surprised in reading it. I had not been privy to what had been alleged on both sides. I can only say that it's a pretty inglorious moment for the council. And I just say that when I read through it, I see Councillor Briff appears to have trawled for a net full of breaches. And
Councillor Hempel, I'll just ask you that the reports are in there. I'll just ask you, as you share your remarks, just remain respectful in terms of what you're sharing.
Absolutely. I'm speaking to the report, Mr. Mayor. And so I hope that Councillor Callender has apologised to the CEO, or I hope she will, and if she hasn't already, I hope she does so soon. As you know, Mr. Mayor, just in the past few days, the government has made known that they're looking at councillor conduct, and I think one of the things that they need to look at is a rule 3 strikes and you're out. And I noticed that Councillor Briffa has another misconduct finding, which is clearly articulated here, and it follows on from 2 others against a local resident.
Councillor Hempel, I'll ask you to remain relevant to the items that are in front.
I am speaking to the relevance to Mr. Mayor. I'm speaking to the relevance, Mr.
Councillor
Mayor.
Hempel.
Don't try to shut me down.
Yeah.
So
I'll just ask you to remain relevant to the items
I am
that are in front of
speaking
us.
relevant to the item. Do you want me to go into detail into the particular item? So I'm saying that 3 strikes and you should be out, and Councillor Briffa has already, with this one, scored 3 and could have possibly have got 4. And I know that the person who has suffered immensely on the first 2, I spoke to her today and she's still aggrieved. So what I'm saying is we need to lift our game and stop these.
Point of order. Sorry. Point of order. 8.18.3. That the comments by Councillor Hempel are irrelevant and vexatious. Equally, they're improper and obscene, and they're incorrect. But if he wants to be subject to a code of conduct, then so be it.
Bring it on, Councillor Briffa.
Councillor
Hempel, I
think Councillor Briffa likes to make a lot of complaints and lodge those
Councillor
against
Calendar.
people, and you can see that in the
Councillor
list
Calendar.
and the arbitration findings.
Yeah.
Councillor Hempel is
Councillor
talking to the
Calendar,
detail.
you're out of order.
Councillor
Calendar,
Hempel is
just hold.
talking to the detail. If you want to throw me out of the meeting, Mr. Mayor,
No, I'm not going to do that, Councillor Calendar. I'm not going to do
I've tried
that.
to be respectful,
Yeah.
and I think that a person talking to the actual detail and content of the findings and the matter at hand is not a point of order.
Yeah, so I'm going to consider the point of order that's been raised. And Councillor Hempel, I'll just ask you to remain relevant to the reports that are in front of us. I know you're moving towards the conclusion of your remarks, and so I'll pass it back to you. But, you know, this is a challenging item, and I think if we can find our way through it as a group, and you can remain relevant to the item, that would be appreciated.
So I'm assuming that you're ruling against the point of order.
No, I'm upholding the point of order, and I'm asking
And
you
on what grounds you are upholding it?
on the
Are you
grounds.
saying that I'm being vexatious?
No, on the grounds that your reflections on prior code of conduct matters are not relevant to the item that are in front of us tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. What I was going to end with was we need to lift our game. And I find both of these complaints, in some respects, a bit vexatious. And anyhow, I've said my piece, and I think we just need to lift our game.
Can I
Thank you.
call a point of order, Mr. Mayor, as well?
Point of order,
I'd like-
Councillor Calendar, which item in the governance rules?
So let me find it. So 8.18.5, you've obviously ruled on a point of order by ruling in favour and upholding Councillor Briffa's point of order. And I would like to use 8.21.5. Should a councillor disagree with the chairperson's ruling upon their request, the objection should be recorded in the minutes. And I'd like my objection and Councillor Hempel's objection to your point of order to be recorded in the minutes.
Just give me one moment. Councillor Calendar. Yeah, Councillor Calendar, that can, I've just sought advice and that can be recorded in the minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Which provision of the governance rules?
So it's item 8.21.5.
21.5. Okay, sorry. Sure.
Councillor Briffa, I'll pass to you to close debate.
Sure. Councillor Hempel would know all about vexatious complaints. Given that he's opened the door on previous
I'll just
matters,
ask you to remain.
I do want to clarify that one of those matters was heard in my absence. And if he wants to raise a code of conduct about that, that is fine. But I wasn't even at the hearing. And I find that matter absolutely outrageous. In terms of the two matters before us, I just ask people.
Councillor Briffa, if you're referring to the 2 points that...
Excuse me, I am
Councillor Hempel
speaking.
Councillor Hempel, have you got a point of order that you'd like to raise?
Point of
Otherwise,
order,
And I didn't interrupt
it's just
you.
not, it's just false.
And I did interrupt you. So, I just like people to read the matters before us. I mean, it was interesting that the case against me, even though it was only given to a certain number of people, limited number, already has been reported in the Herald Sun and the Age and all that sort of stuff, in the Australian and other places. But Councillor Calendar's hasn't. And a journalist told me that it's because Councillor Calendar had forwarded it to them. I don't want to play. I don't want to play those.
That's false.
I don't want to play
Again,
those
that's,
games.
That's complete
If people
garbage.
can read
That is
the
absolute
decision of the arbiter
garbage.
for themselves,
Point of
and
order,
with that, I am very happy to put it to the
frivolous,
vote.
false allegation, complete
All right.
garbage. Complete garbage,
Steve, that's the
Councillor
sort of
Briffa.
conduct.
Councillor,
Absolute garbage.
Councillor
Complete
Calendar.
garbage.
It's
Councillor
where we
Griffiths
found you.
concluded her remarks.
Absolute
I'll
garbage.
put the motion to a
Garbage.
vote. All those in favour? The motion is carried unanimously.
And yes, I'll be putting my apology on my social media tomorrow morning for anybody who is interested. Thank you.
The next item is 9.2.2 Municipal Association of Victoria State Council motions, May 2024. Councillors, are there any questions? Councillor Calendar.
Yep, sorry, just give me 1 second. So in relation to this, I have a question in relation to item 2. And I'll read that out, that the MAV calls on the Victorian Government to conduct an independent review into kindergarten and childcare provision. The review should provide clear legal decision pathways on the role of councils and the extent in their involvement in kindergarten and childcare provision so that council rates are used equitably across the state. Now, as a resident, I could be reading this and potentially think, what is council wanting to achieve from this? Are they actually wanting to exit this space? And that could be concerning. So just asking through you, Mr. Mayor, if somebody could provide some further background as to what the intent and what council is wanting to achieve from this.
Through the Mayor, thank you, Councillor Calendar, for the question. Just to clarify, the intent of the motion isn't to seek to exit current services or make any decisions in that respect. It's just to get clarity around of some of the future issues that are emerging by new strategies in 2032 and to just get some further understanding on how this might impact Council's budget and how our staff might be engaged in these services going forward. So just to clarify, it's not an intention to change council services, it's to work with MAV and other councils on what the future will look like together.
Thank you. And further question on that. So I understand that there has been some cost shifting as a result of the state government's announcement that they'd be willing, that they're planning on providing free kindergarten. And let's be honest, nothing is free. It's actually taxpayer funded kindergarten and there are potential impacts to council. Are you able to share what the impact is currently to Hobsons Bay City Council as a result of that announcement, and what the potential, future cost impact could also look like?
Through the Mayor, thank you, Councillor Calendar. That's a great question. I don't have the details that you've asked for today, so we will take that on notice and come back to you. But I think there will be some modelling that needs to be done in the future because the changes aren't immediate impact. But to go to your first question, what we're asking for is more clarity on what this will mean, how it will impact our services and what we will need to do in the future. So we'll take that second question on the notice and we'll bring that back to you, but great questions.
Okay, thank you. Look forward to seeing those answers. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thanks, Councillor Calendar. Seeking a mover. Councillor Grimmer?
Happy to second that. Those similar questions I also had about because
we're seeking a
apologies. Yes, sorry.
You happy to move?
Yes.
Or have you got a question?
No, just
Seeking a move.
Yep, second to move.
Seeking a seconder. Second motion. Councillor Grimmer, I'll pass to you as mover of the motion.
Apologies about before, Mr. Mayor. I'd also endorse that we ask exactly what's going on with our advocacy, because it was alarming to me also about particularly about the kindergartens as well, because I think it is important that we do inform the community, and at this stage we've been doing a lot of advocacy work and promotion with free kindergartens. Well, that's with our taxpayers' dollars, but that's another issue. That's definitely support that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Grimmer. Councillor Marston.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So the 4 items that we will submit to the MAV if this vote is successful will be in by the deadline, which is this Thursday, for inclusion in that main meeting, and they reflect some of the priorities as we see them as a council through previously expressed resolutions or a consensus of the councillors, including the concern about kindergarten funding as item 2, which has been referenced by my colleagues just now. Item 1 is that the MAV calls on the government to conduct an independent review into affordable housing. Obviously a lot of pressure on the citizens of Hobsons Bay with the need for rapid development of affordable housing and certainty when it comes to practice notes for building and planning affordable housing in the future. Point 3 is that the MAV calls on the Victorian Government to conduct an independent review into the operation of Fines Victoria. So this is a bottleneck where fines have been collected but not dispersed. There's a large amount of money that has to be returned, and we need to understand more about how this agency operates and how we can expect to be reimbursed for those compliance operations that have occurred within Hobsons Bay. Point 4 is that we call for the MAV to call on the government to conduct an independent review into the Port Phillip Bay Coastal Hazard Assessment, including implementing overlays into the Victorian Planning Scheme, providing clear communication and guidance, and committing to the continuation of funding for adaptation, planning and delivery across Port Phillip Bay. And there's a couple of sub-points. The important one being that the state or the Planning Minister should lead a statewide overlay to implement the relevant data which has come out of the Coastal Hazard Assessment into local planning schemes, which is far more efficient and effective than requiring every council to do their own work. To seek funding for adaptation responses across Port Phillip Bay in response to the Coastal Hazard Assessment, which is work that can be done once we understand the local effects. The Coastal Hazard Assessment has detailed data, but only really summarises them on a compartment by compartment basis. And point 3, that those implications of the data contained with the Coastal Hazard Assessment, once it's been analysed by the Planning Minister and other ministers responsible for the Bay, be communicated directly with coastal communities. So there's lots of land managers, as we know. There's a mosaic, a patchwork of land managers across the Bay, and it'll be slow and unfeasible to expect each of those land managers in turn to implement their own planning scheme amendments. And we call upon the Minister for Planning to lead that work in this call for the MAV to consider the matter. And that's a summary of some of the important strategic issues facing us as council, which we now wish to take up with the MAV.
Thank you, Councillor Marston. Any other councillors like to speak to the motion? Councillor Grimmer, I'll come to you as the mover and to close debate.
I just want to sorry, apologies.
Sorry.
I think
Did you want to speak to the motion? Sorry, Councillor Hempel.
No, I will just
Sorry.
to say that I'm happy to take these to the MAV conference.
Thank you, Councillor Hempel, as our delegate to the MAV, and Councillor Grimmer, I'll come to you to close debate.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just want to acknowledge and thank my colleagues for raising really great questions. That's going to help us all have an understanding and knowledge and advocate for our great community, because, yeah, that's important to have the information to us and to our great community. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Grimmer. I'll put the motion to a vote. All those in favour? The motion is carried. Next item is 9.2.3, recognition of Hobsons Bay residents in the 2024 Australia Day Honours List. Councillors, are there any questions? Councillor Callender.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor, I'm going to have to leave the meeting, unfortunately, but just a quick congratulations to all the amazing residents who have made that list in advance.
Thank you, Councillor Callender.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
I'm happy to move the motion, Mr. Mayor.
Got a mover in Councillor Hempel and seeking a seconder in Councillor Marston. Councillor Hempel.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I'm fortunate to know 4 of the recipients that are listed here and can vouch for their enormous work that they've done for our community. And particularly my former council colleague, long-time councillor, Councillor Altair, former Councillor Altair, I should say. She is the second longest serving councillor in Hobsons Bay, has the Mayor Emeritus Award for being Mayor 3 times, has done quite a bit of work for the MAV, and but importantly has done enormous things for our community. And I can think back to a whole host of things that fortunately most of the time we've done them together, and forward done most of them together for our community. Secondly, if I go down the list, Mr. Alan Evers Buckland has done an enormous amount of work. I first met Alan through the Lifesaving at Altona, the club there. He's been a good advocate. I was not aware that he was on the board of Lifesaving Victoria, and I certainly wasn't aware of all his musical talents there. Liz Grove, I know very well, and she has done an enormous amount of work, particularly in our local community, as far as the Williamstown Literary Festival goes. And the last one that I know is Mrs. Para Willis, wife of a former treasurer, Ralph Willis. I don't know, she does an enormous amount of work through the local church, particularly providing meals for disadvantaged people. But I also acknowledge that she has done a lot of work outside our community. But I also would like to congratulate all the other people that I do not know so well, and they seem like they deserve their particular orders. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hempel. Councillor Marston.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So, some extraordinary citizens, and for whom we should be grateful, have been recognised through either the award of Office of the Order of Australia or the Member of Order of Australia. So, I'd like to congratulate Angela, Alan, Liz, Denise, Christine, Sharon, Wilma, and Carol for their dedication to their work, and I'm glad to count them among our citizens. They've got some extraordinary biographies which are really only touched on now, and I look forward to an event in the future where we might be able to meet them in person, recognise their achievements, and share cucumber sandwiches or curried egg with them in a salubrious setting where we can have a cup of tea and talk about all the good things they've done for us at Hobsons Bay.
Thank you, Councillor Marston. Agree. Would others like to speak to this motion? Councillor Bruffer.
Yeah, might as well. I don't know all of them, but I certainly know former Councillor Angela Altair. I'd like to congratulate her for this award. In fact, as you know, we did congratulate her on Australia Day when she was awarded this. And I look forward to celebrating at this civic reception when we indeed have it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bruffer and Councillor Grimmer.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to acknowledge how lucky and privileged we are to have so many great people in our community, health, well-being, making our community vibrant, safer, and a safe haven to go to. This is important for all our great community, and I'm lucky to be one of the beneficiaries of having these people, and now my children will also benefit this. I'm always looking for good, positive for my kids and what we can turn to. So we're very fortunate and blessed. I also know former Mayor Altia, Angie Altia. She's just so lucky. I'm not surprised. Not surprised. It's probably a little bit overdue, but good on you all. And I just congratulations to everyone. And again, as I said, I'm not surprised. Angela, who's really been passionate over the years, for many years. I've loved going to the Lit Fest, watching her at the arts and her colour and her vibrant and her energy. So good on you to everyone. Thank you for bringing this to our great community, and we should all learn from this. And when we do get to visit them and meet them, we should really be taking it all in and getting, the good vibes and just the love for our community. So that's what we're all here. That's what we're here for, to serve. So thank you to you all.
Thank you, Councillor Grimmer. Councillor Hempel, I'll come to you to close debate.
I'm happy to go to the vote, Mr. Mayor.
I'll put that motion to the vote. All those in favour? The motion is carried unanimously. Echoing my colleagues, thank you for your remarks. We are, Councillor Grimmer, very fortunate to have such incredible Australians in our community here in Hobsons Bay, and like others, really looking forward to joining them in that reception, which is reflected in the recommendation, and will be a really good chance to celebrate civic leadership more generally. Next item is 9.2.4 Financial Report, Mid-Year Forecast Review 23-24. Councillors, are there any questions? I am seeking a mover.
So moved.
Councillor Marston as the mover, and a seconder,
Happy to
Councillor
second.
Hempel. Councillor Marston.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is the mid-year forecast, which is exercise in transparency and accountability and financial management. The document is available in the attachments on page 69 and includes the income statement, summary capital works program, available funding results, summary cash flow statement, reconciliation of operating result and net cash flows from operating activities, summary balance sheet, and the financial plan projections. And it calls for us today to note the financial report and endorse the revised 2023-24 annual forecasts on the basis of the evidence collected in the last quarter. So an extensive financial mid-year forecast review has been conducted, resulting in the operational budget surplus for 23-24 of 16.5 million, decreasing to a forecast of 15 million. The operational surplus does not include council's significant investment in capital expenditure, which is forecast to be 71.4 million in round numbers in 23-24. The forecast result of the capital works program compared to budget is a balanced financial result after forecast adjustments and carryovers are considered. An important document, one that guides our thinking, our work, and our development of the forthcoming budget for the 24-25 financial year. I commend the motion. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Marston. Councillor Hempel.
Well, probably not much more to add. I think we're in pretty good shape. It's important to note that the operational budget surplus, a lot of people do not understand that goes to help pay for our capital works. So it's probably, if I do my mathematics, probably about a quarter of what we would allocate to capital works. So it's not like we have a whole lot of cash sitting in the bank doing nothing. I'll just leave it at that, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Hempel. Any other councillors like to speak to the motion? Councillor Marston, I'll come to you to close debate.
Thank you, Mayor. I propose that we test the support for this motion now.
I'll put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? The motion is carried unanimously. Next item is 9.2.5 23-24 Quarter 2 Council Plan Initiatives Progress Report and the Local Government Performance Reporting Framework Half-Year Progress Report. Councillors, are there any questions? Seeking a mover.
So moved.
Councillor Marston to move and Councillor Grimmer to second. Councillor Marston.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So this half-year progress report for 2023-24 financial year is also found in the attachments and is a way of keeping us honest and keeping us on track and understanding and demonstrating to the community the progress that we're making on our council plan, which is the master document that guides everything that council does. It's a statutory requirement to put these reports, and they're included here for that purpose. But they also have the advantage of really laying out in detail where those projects are that are so visible in the community. Our skyline is full of cranes and earth moving equipment. There's lots going on, but this gives us a detailed view into how much of those projects are complete, are on track, and when they will be finished. They judge the performance against the same time last year for the local government performance reporting framework indicators, and there are 18 of those indicators related to the objective. They're laid out in a table in the attachment as well over pages 95 through 97 for the first tranche, and then in subsequent objectives on the following pages as well. It's a really readable document which shows where things are and includes within the 5 objectives the following projects and the new major initiatives for 23-24, which are the Better Places Brooklyn and Altona North, Alma Avenue Reserve, Altona Meadows, Hannon Street, Williamstown, the establishment of Affordable Housing Trust, Centres of Excellence Strategy, Wetlands Centre Development, the Tree Planting Urban Forest Strategy, Altona Meadows Library Building Renewal and Energy Efficiency Upgrades, the Solar Program, Dennis Reserve Master Plan Implementation, which I go past every day and watch with interest, Better Places Laverton HC Kim Reserve Altona, the new pavilion, female-friendly change rooms and car park upgrades, Bruce Common Reserve, which my colleague was asking about before, Better Places Laverton, Places and Spaces, the road reconstruction program, Customer Experience Transformation, which is rolling out currently in a beta phase, implement community relationship management system, including online payment processes, which will come before the community very shortly, the EDMS and intranet project, and the property strategy. So there's a bunch of work which is underway, and I'm glad to report that it's all looking good. It's one thing we do really well here in Hobsons Bay, and I'd like to thank and recognise the outgoing Director Sanjay Manivasagasavam for his extraordinary stewardship over the last 7 years, which has led to amazing and sector-leading completion rates in the Capital Works program.
Thank you, Councillor Marston. Echo those sentiments well and truly. Councillor Grimmer as the seconder.
To acknowledge and all the council and the council officers for this. I echo what my colleague has said. You said it perfectly. Spot on. This is ongoing with long conversations with our great community, consultations, councillors meeting in briefings and having long discussions about this. And this is just such a joy. This is magnificent. This has been hard work behind the scenes with not just conversations but a lot of work, including 7 days a week sometimes. So it's been such passion with the community, and with the community it comes with expectation. So this expectation is just such a great achievement for us all. I think we're all winners in this situation for our great community, and it includes not just one board, because we're very much aligned with, I believe that I'm for Hobson Bay, even though I'm a wetland councillor, I'm for everyone. So this definitely implements for all our wards and also our great community for all ages and abilities. And I didn't think this was going to happen or win, so I'm really excited. So thank you. Wholeheartedly endorse this.
Thank you, Councillor Grimmer. Would other councillors like to speak to the motion? Councillor Marston, I'll come back to you as the mover.
Thank you, Mayor. I have nothing further to add. Thank you.
Put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? Motion is carried unanimously. Next item is 9.3.1, Development of the Hobsons Bay Reconciliation Action Plan. Councillors, are there any questions in relation to this item? Seeking a mover.
Happy to move.
Councillor Hempel.
Second.
And Councillor Marston as seconder. Councillor Hempel.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I'll be fairly brief. This is about the consultation for a new reconciliation action plan for 24 to 26. We have a strong association with the Bunurong Land Council and the Yarrabah Council, and the Yarrabah Council being we have a friendship alliance. I was trying to think the right word. People tend to call them sister cities. I think that's quite derogative, actually. But we have a friendship alliance with the Yarrabah Council near Cairns in Queensland. It's a very strong one. This is going through the process of a new RAP, and I think some people would be interested to know we're getting close to the message tree being planted. That's certainly one of the things that I get asked about a lot. Also like to acknowledge all the work that we did in supporting the yes vote in the referendum recently, and yeah, we did a lot of work there. I'm very proud of what we did do. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hempel. Councillor Marston.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So this is really to formalise the relationship with the traditional owners, along with the friendship with our I was going to say sister council, but the other council in Queensland, the Yarrabah. Since we last developed an RAP, although maintaining strong relationships with the Bunurong have been, it's been determined that the Bunurong are the traditional owners of the lands, waters and air of Hobsons Bay, and consequently we've been working to consolidate our relationship with them. We still sit at the Innovate level because we've got a lot of work to do given the new status of the registered Aboriginal party. And in putting this RAP out for consultation initially and to develop a draft action plan, we'll be looking for cultural training and identifying where there are barriers to employment, better visibility in International First Nations activities and programming across Council, including National Reconciliation Week and NAIDOC, looking for initiatives to identify and resource land care and environmental care, and particularly coastal care under the terms of the Marine and Coastal Act, to develop really strong relationships with local stakeholders, continue the relationship with the Yarrabah, as my colleague mentioned, but also to introduce the Yarrabah to our traditional owners, to the Bunurong Land Council Aboriginal Corporation, and strengthen that conversation between blackfellas in Queensland and in Victoria. We've, of course, under the former mayors and the mayor before her, have done a lot of work in this space, and particularly around the Uluru Statement of the Heart. There's the question of the First Peoples Assembly and Treaty process, which is underway still in Victoria, and the various conversations around the 26th of January and recognition of the pain of that event and how we might navigate that difficult space with the Bunurong Land Council Aboriginal Corporation. I look forward to a strong working relationship, a strong personal relationship with the people, not only within the corporation, but all blackfellas within Hobsons Bay and around the coast under the traditional ownership of the Bunurong. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Marston. Any other speakers to this motion? Councillor Hempel, I'll come back to you as the mover.
I'm happy for you to go to the vote, Mr. Mayor.
I'll do just that. All those in favour? Motion is carried unanimously. I would like to acknowledge all three former mayors in this council term. The Voice, our relationship with Yarrabah, and then the work on the message tree. Yes, I hope we see progress on the message tree, and I'm quite confident we will see progress on the message tree very soon, which is good news. Next item is 10.1.1 Audit and Risk Committee Update, November 2023. Councillors, are there any questions? I'm seeking a mover.
So moved.
Councillor Marston. And a seconder.
Happy to second.
And Councillor Hempel. Councillor Marston.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So this is an update of the Audit and Risk Committee from 22nd November last year, and the motion is that we note those matters and we receive and note the attached Audit and Risk Committee annual self-assessment. The items discussed during that meeting in November were to review and endorse the Audit and Risk Committee annual work plan, the CEO's update, statutory compliance update, outstanding audit recommendations, the review of the ARC annual self-assessment, which is included in this motion, the review of the performance for the internal auditor, review of performance by the external auditor, internal audit program including completed audit reports and endorsement of the Strategic Internal Audit Plan 2024 through 27, risk and insurance update, occupational health and safety update, annual fraud control and compliance update, VAGO final management letter, quarterly financial report and cash and investment balances, and the Capital Works quarterly report. So standard fare, there's a few things that have changed, including the auditor, and I'm happy to say that the outstanding audit recommendations are quickly being dealt with. There's a very good relationship between the auditors and the organisation management and executive, and I endorse this report and the functioning of the Audit and Risk Committee to my colleagues. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Marston. Councillor Hempel as the seconder.
Probably nothing more to add. I note that Councillor Marston is our representative on the Audit Committee, and he's right across all those issues, so I'm happy to leave it at that.
Any other councillors? I'll put the motion... sorry, Councillor Marston, I'll come back to you. I will put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? Motion's carried unanimously. Item 11, notice of motion. We did, of course, have a notice of motion that was brought forward and it's been addressed, and so I'll move to item 12, urgent business. Councillors, is there any urgent business to be raised?
None for me.
And I understand that there are no supplementary public questions, which brings the meeting to a close at 9:20. Thank you, councillors. Thank you to those who are still with us online. Have a really good evening.